Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation focused on youth mental health. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that all content that is found in our podcast is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard in this podcast. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving. It's your host Poonam here with a very special guest, Geeta Narayanan. Today's podcast is recorded to honor Minority Mental Health Month. National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month is observed each July. And why? Because we want to bring awareness to the unique struggle that racial and ethnic minority communities face regarding mental health in the United States. And today we are going to talk about the sandwich generation. Balancing the responsibility of caring of aging parents while raising young children is not easy. There are significant challenges many first generation immigrants go through. So that's the reason we are bringing this topic. So let's listen from Geeta and let's talk about this topic and learn from her. Welcome, Geeta. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself to those who are listening to you for the first time?
Yes, thank you, Poonam. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me over again for the podcast. My name is Geeta Narayanan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. My office is located in San Jose, California. This is the first time I'm talking about the sandwich generation, which is a very important topic, more so, I guess, for the first generation immigrants like you and me, and also so many other people who have come to this country more so in the last 30 plus years. I'm especially coming from India. So that is what I think we would be talking about today.
Thank you. Thank you, Geeta, for sharing that context. So my first question is, when did you move to the US?
So my husband and I moved here, I want to say about 31 years ago. And then, for me, I'm from Chennai. After marriage, when I got married in Chennai, I moved to Delhi. So there I didn't stay for that long. So for me, I think the Bay Area, it became from my second home after Chennai.
Okay, it's same is true for me. I landed in California 25 years back, and that's my home, second home. So another
Yeah.
question is, did your parents visit you here in the US?
Yeah, my parents did come few times for my daughter's childbirth, the first one. But the second, I have two daughters, and now they are adult kids now. They're not young kids anymore. So my mother could come. Both my parents came for my first daughter when she was born, but my second daughter, my mother had some leg issues, so they could not come. But they had visited after that too, few times, and they have been here and stayed with us.
That's wonderful. I'm glad they could come. So were your kids able to visit India often when they were growing up?
We did actually as much as possible, spending time with both sets of grandparents. My mother-in-law stayed with us for some time, and then after that, she chose to move back to India. So there was always, whenever we went to India, so we were able to divide the time between the two homes so that the girls could spend time with both sets of grandparents.
That's very nice to know, Geeta. My story is little different. But yeah, my mother could only come for my second child. There was nobody when my first child was born.
Yeah.
I went through a very, very difficult time.
Mhm.
And my husband's side's parent, they never visited India, here in the US, and they are no more. But
Mhm.
even my kids did not visit. I sometimes feel they missed out a lot of things from cultural perspective. But hey, it's okay, you know. No, we can't get everything what we want.
No,
So
no, I think so. I agree with you. I think so. I don't think, I also wish sometimes I could have gone more, visited more. But you know how it is, right? As parents are aging, and then our two kids are also growing up, and it gets harder, right? The academic demands, and even the summer gets very demanding as they are in middle and high school, because they are supposed to do some extracurricular activities, or they end up doing some academic challenges like classes or internship that takes away the summer too.
so my question to you is, were you able to take care of your aging parents?
Yeah, I was able to do it as much as possible, Poonam. See, but being also the only child, it was also very hard for me to manage that from this far. And it is very normal for my parents needing the support they need, because they went through some health issues. And then, so I would go at least once. My husband, whenever he visited India, he would go visit them. By and large, they were doing okay, because they didn't have major health issues. They just had aging related issues. But I was able to do that. So my father passed away in 2015, and my mother passed away in 2021. And both of them were in, my father was 81 and my mother was in her mid 80s.
Okay, okay. So, Geeta, I'm glad at least you were able to take care of them in whatever shape and form. Your husband was also there to support you. But I do know many friends who are not able to support, or they are not able to visit often, and they are, going through a lot of emotions, that guilt.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel when you were taking care of your parents?
So definitely guilt consumes, it was consuming me. And yeah, there is, and then there is also certain cultural expectations, right? Whether this is not like a good or bad thing. What I'm saying is, not all of us are able to bring our parents here, right? Only some of us are able to bring. And then there is also a sense of cultural narrative that goes on, that, oh my God, how come you're not taking care of your parents? How come your parents are not here? So that also inculcates some sense of shame, right? And those things, I think that then after that, the shame and guilt, it just keeps going, it spirals down, and that is what I was struggling with. But at the same time, I was able to try my best to be there as much as possible, and then provide some support in whatever way we can, because you get more care support in India than the resources here. So I was able to take care of them to the best way
Okay.
possible I could.
Yeah. So you talked about, Geeta, you lost your both parents. So do you still visit India? And how did you take care of your feelings of
See, I
losing
think
both parents?
it is actually hard, right? I mean, there is definitely a sense of emptiness. So, like, part of my identity, like, I don't have anybody to call Amma and Appa. Okay. So that really hits you. And that emptiness is real. The emptiness, it definitely, it's what happens. It's also painful. And last couple of years after my mother passed away in 2021, we all went, actually 2 times we have gone as a family. And then this year, actually, I'll be going by myself. I want to just go see, spend some time with my aunts and uncles who are also aging. And I think I feel when I go there, a part of my own memories come, right? And then I think maybe I see my parents more in them. I see my parents more when I go back, in the atmosphere where I grew up with them. So there is something in it. I also feel that it is healing me when I do that. So I think that is how I take care of the feelings, because I think, just like a part, this is going to be a new normal, or this is going to be my new identity, that not having parents anymore. And the way is for me is to just go back and create some new associations, right? And make some new memories with my uncles and aunts. And also my mother-in-law is there. So I'm also hoping that I can go spend time with her. Yeah.
Thank you, Geeta, for sharing how you take care of your feelings. I'm so glad you like, you have accepted it, right? So we all know this is normal, right? Whosoever is born will
Yeah,
go, whether
yeah,
we like it or not, right? So how do we accept, it is painful situation as you mentioned, but how do we not make it suffering, right? How do we accept it and how do we heal that emptiness? So I really liked your idea of visiting often and even, looking up to your aunts and uncles as your parents and spend as much time as you can.
mhm,
So, it's beautiful what you shared. So do
mhm.
you feel the same connection with India, what that you felt when, you used to go before when parents were there?
Not really. Not really. It's a very new feeling because last time I went, my cab driver, who usually picks me up and drops me in my house, he picked me up and he dropped me in an Airbnb. And it was very strange for me. And there was nobody waiting. Typically, my mom, she will wait for me with an aarti and she would just make some really fresh, my favorite food, and she will wait for me. There is nobody there, it was the we just went into an Airbnb and we walked down the road. There was, because there are lots of restaurants where we stayed in Chennai, and we walked and then we ate. The so that part of it was very strange. It was painful. The other part of also that happened was I visited all my aunts and relatives. They were so hospitable and they were very warm. They cooked all my favorite food. And then also the same thing with my mother-in-law. It was wonderful spending time with her because again, she made sure that I was taken care of. I was relaxed. So this is a new way of relating, I guess, that I am getting used to. And I think this is a process. I think as long as I see it as a process, I think that is how I've come to the terms in accepting it, that it is going to be okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I know it's a very painful experience to talk even about this,
Yeah.
and I'm sure our listeners, it might be hitting a chord for some of the listeners. So, what is your message to all the parents who are the first generation immigrant or the sandwich generation who are taking care of their kids here, but they do have aging parents over there? So, how can they take care of their aging parents while balancing everything else here? So, because you have gone through it, you're
Yeah.
sharing your experiences. So,
Yeah.
anything else you would like to tell those parents that may help them?
I think it is a good idea for them to do something else other than being a caretaker. I mean, I understand it. I mean, I've been a caretaker most of my life. I understand that I put taking care of other people first. But at the same time, I think I was also able to do a little bit of my job. I had it as a part time. That also helped me. Because I think what happens is when you do in a caretaker mode, that really takes up all your energy. I understand there is not much mental space to do anything else. But I'm just going to say if you can still develop something of your own interest, whether it is as a hobby, as a leisure, or whether it is any career or studies that you always wanted to study, I think that'll be a great thing because I think we all need different parts of our identity. We need to continue nurture and then we need to support that. So that will be a great thing to do it. And also, I
That's
would say that sometimes with parents too, to also tell them your realistic thing, what is happening here, especially taking care of your teens during summer. And also, maybe these days with all the technology, we can do WhatsApp video calls, we can do like Zoom calls or WebEx calls, whatever you want to do, that you can almost do it on a daily basis. And make sure also if you can surround yourself with supportive community, supportive people who understands the situation, who kind of provide the sense of encouraging and support in what you're doing in whatever decision you have decided. Because sometimes again there is this shaming thing. Oh, how come you're not bringing your parents here? So that people always I mean, we all, I don't think any of us are meaning to be hurtful to our parents. In some situation it's possible, in some situation it's not, because I don't think for every parents this is a place for them to retire and spend rest of their life. Because my parents came, they realized that this is not the place for them. But then at the same time, but there is lots of comments and messages that we get as though this is the only way to be done. I think that is something we need to soften up. by saying that that is not the only way to do. There are so many other ways we can take care of parents. And it's also important we take care of ourselves, because as caretakers, we put ourselves last. But it is also important we bring up also in that list and take care of ourselves too, our needs and wants.
Thank you, Geeta, for reminding us you can't do everything, you can't be everywhere, but make use of what you have, even including technology,
Yeah.
right? So, and setting up the realistic expectations, because we have responsibilities here also, right? And you cannot make everybody happy. People will say whatever they want to say, your
Yes.
neighbors, your relatives, right? But
Yes.
as you said, we all have that desire to take care of our parents, whether we are with them or we are not with them. We
Yeah.
have good intentions, but
Yes.
if situations are like that, you are not able to do it. So accept it, and do to best of your ability without going in that guilt and shame. That's what
Yes.
I tell myself. And the
Correct.
other thing I will tell you, Geeta, what helps me, I am a person of faith. So, the days when I'm like thinking, going in that cycle of guilt or shame, I just, surrender to higher power. I
Mm.
just, like, I can reach physically there, that's okay. But hey, God, you watch over my mother,
Yes.
right? So you take care of my mother if I'm not there. So that
Yeah.
gives me a lot of relief and, healing. And I do not want to feel that guilt or shame, because I know my intentions are good. So that's
Yes.
how I take care of myself. But I appreciate you sharing your honest feelings. I know it's not easy to lose both parents and feel that stranger in your own country, but you have found ways to heal yourself, and you're rather, inspiring others with your story. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for this opportunity. I think each of us have our own story and experience to share.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation. As part of our youth series, we will be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you so much for listening.